Enterprise was a Continental Navy sloop-of-war that served in Lake Champlain during the American Revolutionary War. She is the first of a long and prestigious line of United States Navy ships to bear the name Enterprise. Enterprise was originally a British topsail schooner named George, built at St. John's in Quebec, Canada. In May 1775, a small American force under Colonel Benedict Arnold sailed up the Richelieu River on the recently captured Liberty. At 700 on 18 May, Arnold and 35 raiders captured the fort and shipyards at St. John's, along with the newly launched George, with no loss of life. The unlaunched schooner Royal Savage was also at the shipyard, and would be captured by the Americans later that year. 2 hours later, Arnold's raiders left with the newly captured sloop, which was later armed with 12 guns and renamed Enterprise. Enterprise was, at first, the most significant warship in the Lake Champlain Squadron, which was charged with maintaining American control of the lake early in the war, and, at times, she acted as flagship for Colonel Arnold. Control of Lake Champlain and the adjoining Hudson River would have enabled the British to cut off vital supply routes between New England and the other colonies, and it would have allowed British troops to cross and attack Albany. On 28 August 1775, Enterprise and other vessels embarked with more than 1,000 troops as part of an expedition against St. John's, Montreal, and Quebec. Though St. John's and Montreal were captured, and Quebec was besieged, the arrival of strong British reinforcements forced the Americans to withdraw from Canada in the spring of 1776. Enterprise and the other craft sailed to Iloinoix in the Richelieu River, where they waited while Arnold directed the building of a fleet at Fort Ticonderoga and Skensborough. The battle was finally joined in the Battle of Valker Island on the 11th of October 1776 at Valker Island, near Plattsburgh, New York, a site of Arnold's choosing. Markedly inferior in firepower, much of Arnold's fleet was sunk or damaged by nightfall. However, he managed to slip the remaining ships, including Enterprise, past the British fleet that night towards Fort Crown Point. A running battle took place over the next 2 days, and resulted in the loss of all but 5 of the American ships. Enterprise and 4 others escaped to Crown Point, then sailed on to Ticonderoga. Although a tactical defeat, the battle was a strategic victory for the Americans, as they had disrupted the British invasion into New York such that it couldn't be mounted before the onset of winter. It was nearly a year before the advance could be renewed, eventually resulting in a decisive American victory in the Battle of Saratoga. During the British advance prior to the Battle of Saratoga, Enterprise was one of 5 vessels assigned to duty convoying Bateau in the evacuation of Ticonderoga. The small American force was no match for the British fleet on Lake Champlain, and after 2 ships had been captured, Enterprise and the other 2 were run aground on 7 July 1777, and burned to prevent their capture.